guys? Josh here at the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, and I'm joined today by the one and only Mr. Gene Casey. We got Gene coming back here on March 30th. It's a Saturday. This is going to be his third time here at the Performing Arts Center, which is quite unheard of for any local artists out here. It's quite rare that we do such, but you know, Gene is one of those local legends who we're just so excited. You know, every year has just gotten better, so we're really looking forward to the next one.
We are too. Three times.
Third time? Well, they said
Muhammad Ali was a champ 3 times.
There you go.
So when I do that, I'm doing my Muhammad Ali.
Triple threat. So, well, on that note, how's it feel to be coming back?
It is great. It is really an honor. I wasn't sure, to get people back 3 times is you got to give them something really. You got to have them come back for something better each time. Mm-hmm. And the first one was great, pure excitement. The second one was, I think it was better paced. And the third time, we're going to light ourselves on fire and pyrotechnics. Yeah. No, I'm only kidding. But wow. It's great to be back and an honor to be invited back because it's a beautiful theater and great sound. And for a guy that does like 100 bar gigs a year, great sound is very, very important.
Well, like I said, we're so thrilled to have you back. And again, we don't often, I think there's only been a handful of local artists that we've ever featured here. So, you know, that should speak just for, you know, our opinion of your musical talent. And we know the whole entirety of Long Island are huge fans. And so I know you kind of just touched on it a little bit, but is there any little taste you can give us? Anything special you got cooking up for this next show?
The core of the band is still the same. These are the guys I work with all year long and have for a long time. So the core band is still the same, but each year I try to bring a couple of different people in as special guests. This year we have 2 horns, 2 saxophones this year. Our regular guy, Paul Scher, and then a guy named Brian Sears, who's a great jazz player and rhythm and blues player. So we'll have 2 horns. We have Tricia Scotti back with us. She's sung with Ronnie Spector, Wilson Pickett, Joey Ramone. She's a great vocalist and guitar player. She's back. This year we have my cousin. His name is Joe Breen. Joe Breen is an actor and performer. He's a classically trained singer, but he loves country music. He lives in Nashville, and he's coming up to join us to do a couple special songs, which is kind of a nice thing for our family, but he's a top-notch singer, and so that's going to be a nice little departure.
Very cool.
To have a good singer on stage. No, what I mean is his style is not quite our style, but we're gonna
That's really cool. And you know, again, you play all over the island, and you know, you're just such a hit out here. But it seems like when you come here, you definitely bring the full band.
Oh yeah.
It definitely gets to expand.
It's a special night. It is.
Really get to see what. Here, well, like you said, when you're speaking of sound systems and whatnot, you get to bring out the full band and hear exactly how you envision the music, how it's meant to play.
Well, we kind of take what we already have with the core band and we just expand on it and emphasize the songs, mostly original songs. And what's nice about playing a theater is that when you're playing in bars and clubs, people dance. That's really important. But music is not always the most important thing going on in a club. Whereas in a concert setting, it's the music, people are seated, and we really get to kind of lay things on people that we don't normally do. And I guess the original songs and just take a little slight departures. It's really rewarding.
All right, cool. Well, we're looking forward to it. So on that note, again, I keep on saying how you're a local legend, but not everyone knows your story. So I was hoping you could give a little light, shine a little light on it, and give a little, you don't have to go through the whole history. But give us a little background.
Not that much to it. I grew up I was born in Queens, and classic post-war story where the folks moved to the suburbs. I grew up in the suburbs, and I moved out to the East End a long time ago. 30 years ago, and just started a group for the fun of it because I had been playing in Manhattan doing the punk rock scene, but I moved out for a change of pace and I ended up staying, And the Lone Sharks, again, really just started as a bar band to have fun and meet girls and drink beer, you know. And then suddenly it kind of became the job, became my day job, because we were working a lot and the band got more serious, started to bring in some really heavy-duty players. And I guess, you know, we have no gold records to show for it, no awards, but we have a great loyal following. You know, we make our own CDs, we sell them. We've had our music on TV shows and movies. We've done some touring, but we're still mostly a local legend, and it's not a bad life.
It's not. I mean, again, myself growing up, my father being a musician,
Yes.
and you know, there's lots of local musicians out here, and just, it's, again, when you think of local music, I mean, your name is kind of synonymous with, you know, what Long Island music is and what the scene is out here. So, and that's a compliment to you, because you've really created a name for yourself, and that's, you know, we're so excited to have you here. So, along that, again, what do you think of the local Long Island music scene that's kind of blossomed out here, specifically on the East End? I mean, there's been so many talented performers that have come out of Long Island, but I mean, I truly think there's a whole niche out here, especially on the East End. And
well, it's funny, when we first started the group in the, dare I say it, like around 1989, there were a lot more places to play, because, long story short, there was more bars. It was the Wild East back then, and a lot of bands, a lot of good bands. And then they kind of died down for a while. But now I think it's healthier and pretty vibrant. And that's from your open mic night, singer-songwriter night, bunch of bands playing, and now there are more venues that appreciate live music. And I think, you know, Montauk is happening. Now the North Fork with the wineries, there's live music there. People come out for the weekend or for a day and they expect to see music. So yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely taken off, and I'm happy to be part of it. You know.
very cool. All right. Well, moving on. So, you know, I'm sure you get this question all the time, but what is your creative process? You've written countless songs, and I'm sure you're always got melodies and lyrics in your head. How do you get from, you know, your head to paper to guitar, get a melody? What is your process?
Well, there are certain writers that can sit down at their desk 9 o'clock in the morning and go to work on a song. I'm definitely not that type of writer. I'm totally spontaneous, compulsive, impulsive. I get an idea, someone says a phrase, or I think of something, and that's a good title. And then before you know it, I have a few lines. And then that's when I work on it. After the initial burst of creativity, then comes the work. And I fall back on many years of the craft, if you will, of learning how to construct a song. But it's usually from inspiration, and then I apply whatever I know, the little bit I do know about music, and hopefully come out with something that's polished and presentable.
I mean, it seems like it's working for you. Like you said, you've had your music on TV. You're playing across the island, and you're heading up and down to Nashville recently. What you tell me?
Well, you know what the really good thing is when you're playing in a club or a theater, and you see people who know your song, who are singing along to your song. That's a great feeling. That's right up there with turning on the radio and hearing yourself on the radio. That's still like one of the biggest highs you can get as a musician.
Sure.
But when people, because I love the classic vintage music that we play. I mean, that's my life's blood. But I've been doing that a long time, and I want to would be nice to be recognized for something more than playing Chuck Berry and Johnny Cash music. As much as I love that stuff, and it's really nice to see people who request your own songs. It's a great feeling.
Okay.
And this concert is the ultimate for that, because we do quite a bit of our own music.
Yeah, and again, it's I mean, 3 years is evidence of it. We've had
I think you just couldn't find anyone else to come.
No, it's one of those. It's become an annualized thing. I think we've done it. It's been in March for the past going on third year now, and there's these locals out here that really love the music out here, and obviously it being such a summer seasonal community, I mean, things definitely die down, but there's still those music lovers and avid followers of you, and I think it's really just been always such a great experience. I mean, I got to experience your show last year, which was phenomenal, and one of those shows that gets people up on their feet dancing, and I think that's when you know something is really great. And that's, especially for me working in a venue, looking out and just seeing the audience having such a great time and enjoying, that's the win. It's not so much the ticket sales, it's not so much the sponsors or anything like that. It's about people having a great time, and I think has always been the case with you.
Thank you.
So on that note, what is your favorite part about performing? And whether it be, I mean, I know you touched on how you love the radio, hearing yourself on the radio. Who doesn't? I mean, that's such a monumental.
It is. It's hard to get over that. Yeah.
So would you say, but live performing, is that where you connect the most?
Well, yeah. I have to say, believe it or not, I'm rather a shy person. I'm kind of a quiet.
That's surprising.
and to be on stage took me years to feel comfortable. I just had to kind of work out my shyness and awkwardness, and now I really enjoy just being on the stage with a good band, because that's pure pleasure. When a band can swing, I enjoy that so much that I hope that the audience can see that and feel that this guy's having a good time, and that makes them have a good time. It's not so much me putting a show on or act. It's just doing what comes naturally and letting them react to it. So yeah, that's a great high. Johnny Cash, toward the end of his life, was in a lot of pain. He had a lot of physical things going on. And he said he lived for the 90 minutes of being on stage, because that was when he never felt any pain. The adrenaline and the high that he got, that was like it, and I can relate to that. I feel great up there.
I bet. I mean, you always see the performers coming off stage soaked in sweat, but it seems it's just so effortless when you see somebody on stage and just enjoying themselves. I mean, does that 90 minutes just go by like that when you're up there?
Yeah. Well, I feel very blessed and fortunate to have what's a long career. I've been doing it a long time. The fact that I'm still working and still growing and learning as a musician, I feel really blessed. So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, again, we're going through I'm dissecting your entire history here. You touched on Chuck Berry, how you do some covers of that and whatnot. But what would you say are your biggest inspirations, whether it be a performer or multiple performers, or what's your biggest inspiration?
Well, it started with the Beatles. I have to say, my oldest sister and brother were there, like prime Beatlemania, but I was the little boy. They still are the benchmark for quality and delivering the goods. There's no filler for the Beatles. And listening to the Beatles turned me on to rockabilly music and country music and 50s music. And that's where I learned the roots, ironically, through the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. I have to say, as the older I get, the inspirations have shifted. I kind of look to the guys that have been doing it for a long time, like Sinatra, Johnny Cash, and Smokey Robinson is still out there. But the people who had longevity, I find that really inspiring, because the business, there's a lot of downside to the business. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of, moments where you question whether or not you can keep doing this, So you look for artists who are still out there or had long careers. And you say, how do they do it? And so, that's what inspires me now. People who have been around a long time, some of the older jazz guys and blues guys.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, we all try to define artist by a genre, and you've said it yourself. You do a bit of swing. You touched on rockabilly. What would you define your genre? I know I feel it spans a couple of different, if not many, genres.
Well, most musicians really have difficulty categorizing their music because it's really against the grain of creativity to limit, narrow, and pigeonhole something. What used to be called rock and roll and country rock and rockabilly and now seems to fall under the umbrella of Americana, and which, I don't know, that makes me think of Grandma Moses and Norman Rockwell or something. But I call it roots rock. I actually call it rhythm and twang. You know, just it's a mixture of rhythm and blues, old style, and the country music tradition. You know.
Very cool. All right, so I guess this is always the ultimate question. What has been the biggest moment in your career up to this point?
Up to this interview. This might be.
This is it? Yeah. Right here with me? I'm honored.
That's a tough question because I can't say when the time we sold out Madison Square Garden, because no, that didn't happen. I think this is going to sound kind of obscure or strange, but there was a restaurant back in the 90s in Bridgehampton called the Wild Rose Cafe, and it was a very cool place. But we had a wonderful residency there. And it was an old house converted into a restaurant, and it was a great scene. And things really took off for the band then because we used to play every week there. And I remember being upstairs what we used as a dressing room, and I could hear the people downstairs just clamoring and calling out our name to play. And I remember hearing it and saying, "Geez, this is what Elvis felt like, or the Beatles felt like," and it was kind of scary to realize, whoa, this is kind of taking off. We got to take this seriously, you know. I guess it was that moment when I realized this is going to be my life. This is going to be my job, playing music, whatever happens. That was an important moment for me. It wasn't the most glorious moment, but it was the moment I said, I'm kind of stuck doing this for a while.
Okay. No, it's a big. I mean, it's from the way you describe it, and from what I've always understood, it's a full-time gig. You know, people think all too often people think that it's you just go and play a bar. It's simple, but you're working, you're promoting yourself, you're writing songs, you're playing, you're booking gigs.
You can't get any more independent than me because I write the songs, I book the band, I front the band, I promote it, and I do it. With respect, and I do it with enthusiasm. It's not easy, but that allows me to do it. That allows me to have control over what I do and play what I want to play.
And you've formed such a rabid fan base around it out here, so it's definitely working for you. So I know we were talking a little bit before, and you said you have a new publishing deal going on that you've been going back and forth to Nashville. Anything you can talk about there?
Well, nothing I can brag about yet, but I have a publishing deal wherein I go down to Nashville for a week or two, and I meet with all these different songwriters down in Nashville, and we try to write a hit song in 2 or 3 hours. And
that's not easy.
Yeah, but that's what they do down there. They book time in a little cubicle, and what do you got? You got an idea, you got a title, and it's like going on a blind date, and you try to come up with something, and that was a great experience. Like I said, no hits to brag about yet.
Yeah.
But I wrote like a dozen songs, co-wrote a dozen songs in a couple of weeks. So that seems to be what I'll be doing, freeing up time and going down to Nashville and seeing if I can get into any trouble down there.
Oh, well, it's a good place to get into trouble. Well, on that note, we're just so excited to have you back for the 3rd year in a row. March 30th, it's a Saturday, 8 p.m. We got the entire Gene Casey and the Lone Sharks and several guests, maybe some surprise guests. Is there any last word you want to leave us with or anything?
8 o'clock?
8 o'clock, as far as I know.
Well, I'll make a point of being there.
All right.
Thank you.
Get your tickets now at whbpac.org, and thank you to Mr. Gene Casey for joining me today.
Thanks, Josh.